The world is focused on conflicts in the Middle East, tensions in the South China Sea, and the ongoing rivalry between major powers, yet a silent but critical battle is unfolding far to the north, Greenland. This massive icy island, mostly under Denmark's sovereignty, has long been seen as remote and strategically unimportant. For decades, it was considered too harsh, too cold, and too inaccessible to matter in global geopolitics. But the reality is changing rapidly. Beneath Greenland's frozen surface lie some of the largest untapped reserves of oil, natural gas, and rare minerals in the world, resources that could redefine global energy markets and technology supply chains. At the same time, melting ice is opening Arctic shipping routes that dramatically shorten trade paths between Asia, Europe, and North America. The United States views Greenland not just as a potential source of resources but as a critical security outpost. Alaska's proximity, combined with Greenland's location, allows early warning radar systems and military installations to monitor potential threats and maintain strategic oversight of the North Atlantic. Russia has long treated the Arctic as a priority, investing heavily in icebreakers, Arctic ports, and military bases to secure control over northern shipping lanes. Greenland, while not under Russian control, is an ideal vantage point for Moscow to observe NATO activities and assert influence over Arctic trade. Meanwhile, China, though geographically distant, has increasingly involved itself through strategic economic investments, asserting itself as a near-Arctic state. Its focus is on establishing trade footholds, gaining intelligence, and preparing for potential dominance over shipping routes. The Arctic, once overlooked, is becoming a stage where the decisions of three superpowers, the United States, Russia, and China, will influence the future of global stability. Every ice sheet that melts, every shipping lane that opens, and every diplomatic or economic maneuver carries enormous potential consequences. Greenland, silent and frozen, is emerging as one of the most important geostrategic points on the planet. For the United States, Greenland is both an opportunity and a vulnerability. Military planners have long recognized the island's strategic value as a buffer against Russian expansion into the Arctic. Greenland's location allows Washington to monitor Arctic airspace, oversee transatlantic shipping lanes, and deploy early warning radar systems that are critical to North American defense. Any reduction in influence over Greenland could undermine decades of planning and weaken the US's ability to respond quickly to threats in the Northern Hemisphere. Russia, meanwhile, continues to consolidate its presence across the Arctic. Icebreakers, military ports, radar installations, and Arctic-ready troops give Moscow significant leverage over northern navigation and resource control. While Greenland is not Russian territory, it sits at a critical point for observation, and Russia is keenly aware of its potential for both trade control and military advantage. Analysts note that Russia's Arctic expansion is strategic, deliberate, and multifaceted, combining technological superiority, military readiness, and resource mapping to ensure dominance over northern latitudes. At the same time, Greenland's ice is receding at an unprecedented pace. This creates access to untapped resources, new shipping lanes, and areas of strategic military importance. The melting ice is transforming Greenland from a distant, isolated island into a geopolitical prize that could determine who controls the future of trade, energy, and military positioning in the Arctic. For the US, every year without influence in Greenland represents not only a loss of economic potential but also a growing strategic disadvantage. This silent Arctic struggle is shaping up to be one of the defining geopolitical contests of the 21st century. China, despite its distance from the Arctic Circle, has positioned itself as a rising power in Greenland's strategic equation. Beijing refers to itself as a near-Arctic state, highlighting its interest in Arctic shipping, resources, and influence. Unlike the United States or Russia, China's approach is largely economic and diplomatic, avoiding direct military confrontation. Beijing is investing in Greenlandic ports, infrastructure, and mining operations, establishing footholds that could translate into significant influence over Arctic trade routes. These investments provide China with intelligence on shipping, resource locations, and logistics, all of which could be leveraged to shift the balance of power without firing a single shot. The Arctic's changing climate accelerates these plans. As ice melts faster than anticipated, shipping routes open earlier in the year, shortening global transit times between Asia and Europe. These passages are not only commercial opportunities. They represent potential military corridors capable of reshaping the projection of power across the Northern Hemisphere. Analysts warn that China's indirect approach may be more effective and disruptive than traditional military strategies, combining economic power, strategic foresight, and technological capabilities to quietly expand its influence in Greenland. As Washington and Moscow monitor these developments, Greenland is no longer simply a remote icy outpost. It has become a central arena for global influence, where decisions made today could have consequences for decades to come. The struggle over Greenland is not being fought with conventional warfare, but the stakes are extraordinary. Natural resources, new shipping routes, and military positioning have transformed this frozen island into a pivotal geostrategic hotspot. Experts warn that miscalculations, a diplomatic error, an accidental incident, or a sudden assertion over Arctic ports could trigger crises with global consequences. Over the coming decade, whoever secures Greenland's geography, resources, and strategic position could dominate not just regional influence but global trade, energy markets, and military power. The ice continues to recede at a rate few anticipated, making Greenland increasingly accessible and, therefore, more valuable. In practical terms, control over Greenland could shape the future of global commerce, the military balance of power, and energy security. For audiences, this is not a distant story of an icy island. It is a live demonstration of the future of global power, quietly unfolding while the rest of the world remains distracted by other crises. Greenland is more than ice. It is the stage where nations maneuver, influence, and assert dominance, sometimes without firing a single shot. The silent battle here in the Arctic may well define the geopolitical map of the 21st century.
Subscribe to Geography Factor for hidden maps, secret conflicts,